Discover the incredible miraculous journey of Exodus. God's plan for divine redemption exposed. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, when darkness lay heavy over the land of Egypt, and the cries of the Israelites filled the air like an agonizing chorus, a child was born destined for greatness. He was named Moses, a Hebrew raised not among his kin but in the opulence of Pharaoh's household, sheltered by the very empire that oppressed his people. Quietly, the fates began to conspire in the shadow of the grand structures of Egypt. Moses, a boy dazzled by gilded halls and splendor, remained unaware of the storm brewing within his heart. The weight of his identity, steeped in tension, tugged at his spirit. Equipped with a wealth of knowledge and privilege, he was yet pricked by an unsettling awareness, a stirring deep within calling him, urging him toward a purpose yet unclear. As he gazed upon the mighty Nile, a sense of longing washed over him, for he felt the pain of his people. One fateful day, curiosity led him beyond the walls of Pharaoh's palace into the hard labor camps of his brethren. As he watched an Egyptian cruelly beat a fellow Hebrew, a fire ignited in his heart. Righteous anger surged through Moses as he grappled with his emotions and urged him to act. In a moment of wrath, he struck the Egyptian down, burying him in the sand. The terrible weight of his choice crashed upon him, forcing him into a darkness of exile. Thus he fled, leaving behind the cries of his kin and the echo of his own heart that in the wilderness of Midian. Tending to his father-in-law Jethro's flock, Moses wandered through solitude and doubt. But one day, amidst the barren landscape, he beheld an awe-inspiring sight. A bush ablaze yet unconsumed by the flames. Curiosity overcame him, and as he drew nearer, the voice of God broke through the silence of the desert. "Moses, Moses!" Overwhelmed by reverence, he hid his face in fear, recognizing the holiness of the ground upon which he stood. "It is I," proclaimed the Almighty, "I am who I am." God revealed the covenant promise crafted through generations, assuring Moses that he had seen the affliction of his people and had heard their cries. "I will deliver them," he declared, choosing Moses as his instrument to bring liberation. Yet, doubt nestled heavily in Moses' heart. "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh?" he questioned, wrestling with inadequacies that threatened to hinder his call. God reassured him, empowering him with divine signs, the rod that turned into a serpent and many wonders to display his power to both Israel and Pharaoh. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. Empowered but still trembling, Moses returned to Pharaoh's courts, his voice quaking as he demanded, "Let my people go." His words echoed with divine authority, yet Pharaoh's heart remained hardened. As plagues rained down upon Egypt, water turned to blood, locusts that devoured the land, darkness thick enough to feel, Moses stood firm, knowing he bore the promise of redemption. As the climax loomed with the Passover approaching, hope surged among the Israelites, who awaited deliverance from their plight. Yet, as the wilderness stretched out before them, fraught with uncertainties, the promise of Canaan lay just beyond reach. What would this journey demand of them, and would they trust in the God who had called them? The journey of deliverance had begun, but the path ahead remained shrouded in mystery. And it came to pass, in the night of the great deliverance, that God spoke to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, "This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you." God instructed them to speak to all the congregation of Israel, saying, "On the 10th day of this month, ye shall take every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house." The lamb was to be without blemish, a perfect offering chosen to represent their innocence and goddess grace. Through the shadows of night, the Israelites prepared their homes, painting the doorposts with the blood of the lamb, marking their threshold with the divine sign of protection. The blood signified faith, an assurance that they were chosen, set apart by God for his promise. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you. As night fell and the moon hung low, the air grew heavy with expectancy. The voice of God echoed through the silence, proclaiming judgment upon Egypt, a final plague that would free his people but strike terror into the heart of Pharaoh's land. At midnight, declared the Lord, I will go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die. The cries of despair would soon fill the streets, but within the hearts of the Israelites, there grew a flicker of hope, a longing for liberation echoing in each prayer whispered in faith. Then, exactly at midnight, the air was filled with an unearthly stillness before the storm. The first strike was heard as death swept through the land of Egypt. Taking both man and beast, every household felt the breath of tragedy. Every heart was seized with grief. And Pharaoh arose in the night, along with all his servants and all of Egypt. And there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. In stark contrast, the homes of the Israelites stood untouched, sealed by the blood of the Lamb. As dawn broke over the horizon, the light of hope shone upon God's chosen people who gathered, trembling yet rejoicing. Their chains of bondage would soon be shattered. Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron in the night's trembling aftermath, his heart finally broken. Rise up and get you forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel. And go, serve the Lord as ye have said, he commanded, surrendering to the will of the Almighty. And thus, the Israelites prepared themselves to leave, taking the dough before it was leavened, binding their kneading troughs in their clothes upon their shoulders. Each step away from Egypt marked a step toward freedom, while the path to the promised land lay ahead, cloaked in uncertainty. As they departed, a multitude of mixed multitude went with them, for the Lord moved hearts beyond Israel's kin. God's purpose was being woven through their faith, an exodus that would change the course of history. But amidst their journey, in the dimness of the desert dawn, a troubling thought arose among the people. Was this deliverance truly the end, or merely the beginning? The weight of the unknown pressed upon them as they looked back at the land that had known their suffering. Thus the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he shall pursue after them. And I will be honored upon Pharaoh, and upon all his host, and the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord. In this sovereign plan, a divine revelation awaited, as the story of redemption unfurled to reveal deeper truths that echo through the ages, truths that would not only shake the foundations of kingdoms, but spark hope everlasting for generations of believers yearning for liberation. What greater wonders would God unfold as his people journeyed forward into their destiny? And Moses gathered all the elders of Israel together, and he said unto them, Draw out and take you a lamb according to your families, and slay the Passover. As the people looked upon their lambs, their hearts trembled not with fear, but with anticipation, for they were poised on the brink of a divine promise. With each drop of blood that flowed, the spirit of liberation surged within them, igniting their faith. The instructions given were for them to eat the flesh in haste, with their loins girded, shoes on their feet, and staff in hand, for the Lord would pass through to smite the Egyptians, and he would protect his chosen ones. And thus shall ye eat it, Moses declared, with bitter herbs they shall eat it. It is the Lord's Passover. As night enveloped them, the sound of the lamb's bleats filled the air, a poignant reminder of their sacrifice. The Israelites huddled in their homes, each family united by the blood mark upon their doorposts, whispering prayers of hope as the winds of change began to stir. The thought of the promised land swelled within them, though the path remained shrouded in divine mystery. In the midst of their preparation, God spoke to Moses once more. Say unto the children of Israel, I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will rid you out of their bondage, and I will redeem you with a stretched out arm, and with great judgments. And each word from the Almighty resonated in the hearts of his people, stoking the flames of desire for freedom. With the break of dawn came the sound of urgency. Go forth! The cry rang, as the elders led the people out of Egypt, gold and silver being given freely by the Egyptians, who feared the wrath of the Lord. The air was thick with the scent of unleavened bread and the promise of a new beginning. But lo! As they moved towards the border of their oppression, the shadow of uncertainty swept over the congregation. For in the distance, a chilling news reached them. Pharaoh's heart was hardened once again, fueled with rage and despair. With chariots thundering and an army looming, Pharaoh pursued the very people he had liberated, intent on reclaiming his loss. The Israelites turned and saw the dust rise from the chariots of Egypt, a sight that sent waves of panic through their ranks. Were there no graves in Egypt? They lamented, that thou hast taken us away to die in the wilderness? The weight of their chains seemed to draw near once more, and their courage faltered. Moses, feeling the burden of the people's fear, turned his eyes toward heaven. Fear ye not, he proclaimed boldly, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you today. The air thickened with tension as Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the waters quivered, awaiting the command of the Almighty. Thus, the Lord instructed Moses, speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward. And as the waves parted, the hearts of the people soared. They stepped into the dry ground, the waters towering like walls on either side, as the multitudes walked in faith, their very lives suspended between hope and despair. But behind them came the roar of Pharaoh's anger, his chariots charged with fury. The Lord shall fight for you, Moses reminded them, and ye shall hold your peace. As the waters surged back, a divine cleansing flowed through the land, ensuring the Egyptians would know the true power of the Lord. The Israelites crossed safely, but in the depths of their souls, they yearned for what lay beyond the horizon. Little did they realize, the unfolding of God's grand design was far from complete. Remember this day, in which ye came out from Egypt, said Moses, for the Lord hath brought you out by a mighty hand. As the last echoes of judgment faded into silence, the Israelites stood on the precipice of destiny, their path illuminated by the faithfulness of God. What further revelations would emerge from their journey? The Lord had more to show them, for his purposes embraced not only their escape but the intricate tapestry of his plan for all nations. In their steps forward, the reflection of his glory awaited to be revealed. And it came to pass, that the Israelites beheld the mighty works of the Lord and sang a song of triumph, their voices rising like incense before heaven. I will sing unto the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. Miriam, the sister of Aaron, took a timbrel in her hand, and the women followed her in dance, praising the God of their salvation. The very air was charged with joy and reverence as the people declared, the Lord is my strength and song, and he has become my salvation. As the echoes of their melody faded, Moses led the multitude towards the wilderness. Their eyes turned towards the distant mountains. The way was arduous, and their bellies churned with hunger. Yet their hearts beat with hope, for the Lord had promised to sustain them. And they dwelt in tents of humility as they journeyed forth, trusting in the steadfastness of the Almighty. But soon they grew restless, and their voices turned from songs of praise to lamentations. What shall we drink? They cried, for there is bitter water here. Yet amid their discontent, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, go forth and cast a tree into the waters. Moses obeyed, and as the tree touched the waters of Marah, they transformed, becoming sweet and refreshing. And the people drank, rejoicing in the provision of their God. The Lord said, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and wilt do that which is right in his sight, I will put none of these diseases upon thee which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord that healeth thee. With their thirst quenched, the Israelites continued their journey, and the Lord led them towards Elim, a place of 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees, where they rested and were restored, basking in the bountiful provision of their God. Yet even as they settled under the shade, hunger gripped their hearts once more. They cried against Moses and Aaron, would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots and did eat bread to the full. Their memories betrayed them, as they forgot the agony of bondage. The Lord labeled their complaints not as mere discontent but as a call to himself. I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel. He promised to rain down bread from heaven, and each morning they would gather manna, the very provision from the heavens, delivering them from their affliction. And it came to pass that, as the quails fell at twilight, the earth and sky both seemed to mingle and glory. The people fed and were filled with grace, but still they ventured forth burdened with doubt. longing for certainty in the wilderness. "Shall we ever know the land promised to our forefathers?" they whispered amongst themselves. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, "I will go before you and prepare the way. I shall bring you unto the land that I swore to give unto Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." For though the path was fraught with challenge, the Father's voice echoed through the ages, proving his intentions to redeem not just one people, but all the nations of the earth. Yet the journey had only begun, and the hearts of the people remained entangled in questions. How would the Almighty fulfill his promises amidst trials? Little did they know that their story was woven into the fabric of God's sovereign plan, bound for glory and destined to reveal his power unto generations yet to come. For in their wanderings, the provisions from heaven would forge their identity as a people, setting the stage for a covenant that would resonate through all time. The dawn of their revelation was but a whisper to the revelation of the one who was to come, a promise waiting to bloom in the soil of faith. And it came to pass, after they had gathered the manna and the quails, that the Israelite camp stirred with the murmurs of dissatisfaction once more. The endless expanse of wilderness surrounded them, and the monotony of their daily provision wore upon their spirits. "Our souls are dried away. There is nothing at all, besides this manna before our eyes," they lamented, forgetting the trials from which the Lord had delivered them, and the Lord heard their grumblings. His anger was kindled against them, for they had turned their hearts from the miracles and filled them with forgetfulness. Yet, in his mercy, he commanded Moses, saying, "Gather the people together, and I will give them flesh to eat." Thus Moses spoke to the people, reminding them of the great works that the Lord had done, and how he had brought them out of Egypt with a mighty hand. "You shall eat meat, not for 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, nor 10 days, nor 20 days. But for a whole month, until it come out at your nostrils," declared Moses, foreseeing their discontent. "For ye have despised the Lord which is among you." And the winds of the wilderness soon began to blow, and the Lord sent forth quails from the sea, and they covered the camp like the dew. They filled the air with their cries and settled down upon the ground, plentiful and abundant. The people gathered them up, and as they began to eat, the very meat sat ill with them. For while they chewed, the Lord's anger flared, and the smote of his wrath fell upon the people. They called the place Kibroth-Hattaavah, for there they buried the people that had lusted after the flesh. Yet Moses interceded for them, crying out to the Lord, "What shall I do with this people? They are like children who do not see the hand of their father." The Spirit of God descended heavily upon Moses, and he was lifted into the presence of the Almighty. The Lord responded, saying, "I will take of the Spirit which is upon thee, and will put it upon 70 elders, and they shall bear the burden of the people with thee, that thou bear it not thyself alone." Thus came to pass the gathering of the elders, and the Spirit of the Lord spilled out upon them like oil on the sacred altars, and they prophesied, a sign of his grace upon their hearts. Yet 2 remained in the camp and prophesied there, and a young man ran and told Moses, "Eldad and Medad do prophesy in the camp," he exclaimed. And Joshua, the son of Nun, said, "My lord Moses, forbid them." But Moses replied, "Enviest thou for my sake? Would God that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put his Spirit upon them." And the presence of the Lord was evident among his chosen, and they journeyed onward under his guidance and provision. They set their eyes toward the land of promise, though they could not yet see it, their hearts pulsating with faith in what was to come. Yet the wilderness bore not only trials but also purpose. The lessons learned in hardship were the very foundations of their identity, each step forward etched with the faithfulness of their God. Ever was it revealed, through their struggles and victories, that the journey itself was an integral part of his divine plan. As they pressed deeper into the wilderness, God prepared their hearts for a destiny that would echo through ages. A whisper of covenant renewal awaited them. Indeed, through their trials, they were being molded into a light for the nations. For in every quail that fell and in every morsel of manna, the promise of redemption was being unveiled, echoing a greater redemption yet to come, where one would fulfill every promise and lead the lost home. What hope might unfurl even in the wilderness, as the tapestry of God's purpose continued to weave its way through the lives of his people. And it came to pass that the people journeyed through the wilderness, their hearts still heavy with discontent, for the flesh they had craved left them unsatisfied. The memories of slavery in Egypt faded beneath the weight of their current plight, and even the miracles of provision became a source of bitterness. Yet the Lord spoke unto Moses in the stillness of the night, saying, Gather the leaders of the people, and let them bring forth their complaints before me, for I am a God who hears. Thus did Moses call for the chief fathers and the heads of the tribes, and they stood before him as the morning sun rose over the desert sands. What have ye to say? Moses asked them, his voice steady and filled with authority. They responded, saying, The burdens of the wilderness are too heavy upon us. We long for the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic of Egypt. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all, besides this manna to behold. In his heart, Moses bore the weight of their woes, and he took them before the Lord. O Lord, why hast thou laid this burden upon me? I am not able to bear all this people alone. For it is too heavy for me, he cried, his voice echoing through the vast emptiness of the wilderness. And if thou deal thus with me, I pray thee, kill me, I beseech thee, and let me not see my wretchedness. But the Lord replied, Gather unto me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom thou knowest to be the elders of the people and officers over them, and bring them unto the tabernacle of the congregation, that they may stand there with thee. And so it was that Moses did as he was commanded, and the Spirit of the Lord descended upon the elders as it had upon him. They prophesied in the Spirit, and the camp filled with the sound of their praises. Yet Eldad and Medad, who had been among those chosen, stayed in the camp, and they too were filled with the Spirit and prophesied. Joshua, seeing this, was troubled and spoke unto Moses, My lord Moses, forbid them. But Moses answered him, Enviest thou for my sake? Would God that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put his Spirit upon them. And lo, the cloud of the Lord descended upon the camp, and the people beheld his glory in the midst of their complaints. The presence of the Almighty became a light that pierced through the bleakness of their journey, reminding them of his everlasting covenant. Yet, even amidst this display of divine power, their hearts remained burdened, and their longings unsatisfied. Then the Lord led Moses to the edge of the sea, and he commanded him to strike the rock. And as Moses struck the rock, water gushed forth, bright and fresh, filling the very ground beneath their feet. They saw the miracle but still struggled with their faith, for the heart of man often wanders away from the path of gratitude. Thus the people drank, their thirst quenched, yet the wilderness echoed with the spirit of longing. They looked with weariness at the expanse of sand and stone before them, not realizing that the path of suffering was but a prelude to the richness of his inheritance. A promise yet awaited them, one entwined with a hope that would blossom amidst barrenness. For the Almighty knew the depths of their hearts. The landscape of their wilderness journey held not merely trials, but a divine orchestration leading them toward a promise that would flow with milk and honey. For even as their faith wavered in the face of want, God's promise loomed like a beacon on the horizon, a destiny forged in covenant love. A restoration is not yet fully realized, but growing in the midst of every step they took. And who could fathom the depths of such a plan, where through their journey in the wilderness, the foundations of a greater redemption were being laid? What destinies lay ahead, hidden in the shadow of their trials, waiting to be unveiled in God's perfect timing? And it came to pass that the people, having seen the glory of the Lord and tasted the waters from the rock, continued their journey through the wilderness, yet their hearts remained restless. They wandered from place to place, encamped beneath the shade of the arid mountains, seeking rest but finding none. Then the Lord spoke again unto Moses, saying, Send men to search the land of Canaan, which I do give unto the children of Israel. Of every tribe of their fathers shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among them. Moses, filled with obedience, called forth leaders from each tribe, and he sent them forth to spy the land, saying, Go ye up this way southward, and go up into the mountain, and see the land what it is, and the people that dwell therein, whether they be strong or weak, few or many, and what the land is that they dwell in, whether it be good or bad, and what cities they be that they dwell in, whether in tents or in strongholds. So they departed and searched the land, traversing its hills and valleys, and they beheld the fruits of the vine and the harvest of the land, bunches of grapes so large that they carried them between 2 men on a staff, as signs of the richness of the promised inheritance. Upon their return, they gathered the congregation, and the men spoke, saying, We came unto the land whither thou sentest us, and surely it floweth with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it. Yet their hearts were torn with fear, for they continued, Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled and very great. And moreover we saw the giants there, the sons of Anak. Caleb, one of the spies, stilled the people before Moses, saying, Let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. But the other men raised their voices, declaring, We be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. Their words spread like a dark cloud among the children of Israel, and they cried out in fear, saying, Would God that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would God we had died in this wilderness. Then the heart of Moses and Aaron fell, for they saw the despair of the people. They fell upon their faces before the congregation, crying out to the Lord. Joshua and Caleb, filled with the Spirit, rent their clothes and spoke unto the multitude, saying, The land, which we passed through to search it, is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord delight in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which floweth with milk and honey. Only rebel not against the Lord, neither fear the people of the land. For they are bread for us. Their defense is departed from them, and the Lord is with us. Fear them not. But the people hearkened not to the voice of hope, and they took up stones to stone them. Then the glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle before all the children of Israel. And the Lord said unto Moses, How long will this people provoke me? And how long will it be ere they believe me? For all the signs which I have shown among them. Moses interceded for the people, reminding the Lord of his mercy. The Lord listened and declared, As truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord. Yet none of these men which have seen my glory and my miracles shall see the land which I swear unto their fathers. Thus was the fate of the doubters sealed. For their path would lead them to wander for 40 years in the wilderness, until a new generation arose to enter the promised land. And yet, amid their rebellion, God's redemptive purpose remained. For even in their failure, the path of divine deliverance was not obscured. Hidden within the walls of their disobedience lay the seeds of transformation and the promise of faith that would redeem a people. What profound mystery awaited them as they walked in the wilderness! For the Lord had a greater plan to reveal a legacy of faith and courage that would echo through generations. Would they heed the call to trust in his promise, or would they remain lost in their fear? And it came to pass that as the days turned into weeks, the lament of the people echoed in the wilderness. Their hearts, burdened by doubt, consumed them, casting a shadow over the works the Lord had done. The camp was filled with murmurs and cries, and voices of despair spoke against the promise of Jehovah. In the midst of their unrest, the Spirit of the Lord moved mightily. The Lord spoke once more unto Moses, saying, Gather the congregation and tell them of the heritage I have set before them. Speak unto them of my faithfulness and the land flowing with milk and honey, where they shall dwell in safety and peace. So Moses stood once again before the assembly, and reminded them of the mighty hand of God, who had delivered them from the bondage of Egypt, parting the waters of the sea and sending manna from heaven. Consider your fathers, he urged, who journeyed with a promise, and do not let your hearts turn to fear. The Lord your God is among you. He is the mighty one that saves. Then the sons of Korah, moved by a resolution, lifted their voices, saying, Let us not forsake the God who sent the plagues upon Egypt, for he is our deliverer. Our eyes shall see the land if only we walk in faith. Their words stirred the hearts of some, but others remained unmoved, their fears still holding them captive. In that moment, Caleb spoke forth again, Why do you fear? The strength of the people is but a shadow against the greatness of our God. He has gone before us. Let us arise and seize the promise. His voice rang with the authority of faith, bold against the backdrop of doubt, and it pierced the hearts of the assembly. But the fear was deep, and many continued to shake their heads in disbelief, saying, How can we go up against giants? Surely our demise awaits us. Better to return to Egypt. Their hearts were hardened, for they forgot the covenant made by the Lord to their forefathers. Then the Lord declared unto Moses, How long will this stubborn people provoke me? They have tested me now 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice. Tell them, as I live, they shall know my power but never enter into the land I vowed to their fathers. With heavy hearts, Moses relayed the message to the people, and despair gripped them anew at the thought of wandering without promise in the wilderness. Yet in this dark hour, Joshua and Caleb once again joined their voices, saying, The land is exceedingly good. We must trust in the Lord who has brought us thus far. Though giants stand against us, they are but bread for us, for the Lord fights our battles. But the crowd was lost in their disbelief, and their hearts trembled with an apathy toward God's promise. They turned against Joshua and Caleb, threatening to stone them once more, when suddenly the glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle. A holy hush fell upon the camp as the Lord spoke, Behold, my wrath burns against this generation, but I shall not abandon my covenant. In that awesome presence, God revealed a deeper truth. I shall preserve you through the wilderness, and from you another generation shall arise, a people equipped with faith, for they shall enter the land I have prepared. Thus, within the wilderness of their disobedience, a flicker of hope ignited, reminding them of God's sovereign hand at work. The wilderness was no longer a place of mere wandering. It would become a crucible of faith where the faithful would emerge renewed. What would become of this new generation? Would they inherit the promise laid bare by God? Or would they too falter in fear? For even as the journey pressed on, unseen wonders lay ahead, awaiting the hearts of those willing to believe. The promise lingered like a distant light, just beyond the horizon of their wandering. And it came to pass, after the passage of time within the wilderness, that the heart of the people began to stir with a flicker of hope, ignited by the words of Joshua and Caleb. Yet, the weight of doubt still pressed heavily upon them, binding their spirits. Then the Lord commanded Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and tell them to prepare their hearts, for in their midst I shall show them my glorious ways. Moses gathered the people and spoke, saying, The Lord has seen your afflictions and has heard your cries in this wilderness. Consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you. The assembly trembled, but the sound of hope began to echo in their midst. That night, the people observed the new moon rising, and it was a reminder of new beginnings. The Lord instructed Moses to tell the people to take a lamb without blemish for each household and to prepare it as a sacrifice, saying, For I shall pass through the land of Egypt, and strike every firstborn, both man and beast. But my people shall be distinguished by the blood upon their doorposts, and they shall be spared from the wrath that comes. As Moses conveyed the command to the people, the dread of the night gripped many, yet some believed. The faithful prepared the lambs, roasting them whole, and they made haste to place the blood on their doorposts, trusting in the promise of deliverance. When the time came, the Lord passed through the land of Egypt, and there was a great cry, for there was not a house where there was not someone dead. Yet the houses of the Israelites stood unharmed. The deliverance of God thundered in the night, shaking the hearts of Pharaoh and his people. At dawn, Pharaoh called for Moses, saying, Rise up, go out from among my people, both you and the children of Israel, and serve the Lord as you have said. The cries of the Egyptians filled the air, filled with anguish and despair, as they called upon their gods, yet realized they were powerless against the might of Israel's God. So the people of Israel took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading bowls bound up in their garments upon their shoulders. They marched toward freedom, led by Moses, whose heart was filled with a mixture of joy and trepidation, for the path ahead was unknown. Then the Lord said unto Moses, Tell the people to remember this day in which they went out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage. For by strength of hand the Lord brought them forth out of this place. This shall be for you a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. And so, they celebrated the feast of unleavened bread, remembering the Lord's deliverance in the wilderness, as they wandered toward the promised land. But a shadow lingered in the distance, for the Egyptians pursued them, heart full of anger. Horses and chariots thundered behind them, the ground trembled with the sound of their pursuit, with the sea before them and the enemy behind. Fear gripped the hearts of many, and they cried out to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die in the wilderness? What have you done?" But Moses, filled with the Spirit of God, said to the people, "Fear not. Stand firm and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today. The Egyptians whom you see today you shall never see again." And the voice of the Lord came unto Moses, saying, "Lift up your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it, that the people of Israel may go through the sea on dry ground." In that moment, the winds of heaven began to blow, and a path appeared through the waters. The people gasped in astonishment, their faith stirring as they beheld the miraculous work of the Lord. Thus the path to freedom lay before them, and they stepped forth in faith, trusting in the goodness and might of their God. What would become of the Israelites as they ventured into the unknown? Would they embrace the promise of their God, or would they remain shackled by doubt, as darkness chased behind? For just beyond the waters lay another test of faith, one that would reveal the depths of their hearts and the unfathomable ways of God. And so it came to pass that, having crossed the Red Sea on dry ground, the Israelites emerged from the grasp of despair into the embrace of hope. The rush of freedom flooded their souls, and a wave of joy surged through their ranks, echoing praises unto the Lord. "I will sing unto the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously," they proclaimed, their voices rising in unison as the waves crashed in a symphony of divine deliverance. In that moment of salvation, they beheld the fallen chariots of Pharaoh amidst the waters, a testament to the Almighty's promised victory over their adversaries. The triumph was not merely of flesh. It was a spiritual awakening, a realization that their God was indeed a warrior, a deliverer ready to fight for his people. As they stood on the banks, their hearts knit together in unity, they knew their journey toward the promised land had only just begun. The days unfolded as the Israelites traversed the wilderness, a harsh landscape teaching them of reliance and faith. With every challenge, God's voice echoed among the mountains. "I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt." Through the clouds of doubt and the shadows of uncertainty, his presence was a guiding light. "Manna shall rain from heaven," the Lord instructed, "and you shall gather the bread for sustenance, knowing I am your provision." Each morsel was a sacred reminder of his faithfulness, each bite reinforcing their alliance with the one who had called them my people. Yet, stubbornness often penetrated their hearts. In moments of need, they longed for what was behind, their vision clouded by nostalgia of the flesh pots of Egypt. "We remember the fish, the cucumbers," they lamented, "but now our souls are dried." But Moses stood before them as a beacon of hope and intercession. "God has heard your cries," he reminded them. "He is with us, leading us to a land flowing with milk and honey, a land of promise." And in their wandering, the faithful began to grow, learning to trust the unseen hand of God, guiding them through trials and triumphs alike. The elders bore witness to the miracles and whispered tales of faith, sacred stories that would be etched upon the hearts of their children for generations to come. At last, the moment came when they stood on the borders of Canaan. Spies were sent forth again, this time not to seek fear but to recount the faithfulness of God. "The land is good," they declared, "the cities may be fortified, but the Lord is with us. What are giants in the sight of our God?" This time the people were stirred, their spirits reignited with the embers of courage that had been dormant as Joshua and Caleb, the faithful spies, strode forward to claim their inheritance. A new generation arose, those who had not known the shackles of Egypt, those whose ears had only heard the cries of bondage from afar. They pressed into the promised land, their faith having been forged in the crucible of wilderness woes and divine encounters. The call to conquer was not solely a physical battle, but a spiritual uprooting of fear and doubt. "Be strong and of good courage," God proclaimed. "I have delivered the enemy into your hands." And so they marched forward, armed not just with swords but with the strength of faith, a force that toppled walls and silenced giants. Thus, the story of Exodus found its purpose through hardship. They were not only freed from physical bondage, but they were transformed into a nation of believers, infused with hope and resilience. Their identity was forever etched into the tapestry of Scripture, a legacy that would teach countless others of obedience, redemption, and divine love. As the sun set over the land of Canaan, the Israelites gathered to give thanks. Their hearts lifted as they remembered the journey that had brought them from the brink of despair to the joy of promise fulfilled. Their voices echoed, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow us all the days of our lives." And so it remains a testament that even in the wilderness of our fears and failures, God weaves a story of hope, redemption, and promise. Now, dear friends, if this miraculous journey speaks to your spirit and you desire to uncover more powerful biblical truths like this, then subscribe immediately to our channel to stay connected to God's Word. You need to subscribe now. Don't miss the next awe-inspiring stories of faith and deliverance. If this powerful testament has touched your heart, please leave a like now to help us spread God's Word through the algorithm, illuminating the path for many others. We invite you to comment with your spiritual reflections and let us know how this biblical story has impacted your faith. Your thoughts matter and could encourage others in their walk with God. Lastly, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who you believe need to hear God's truth. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony. Only true believers understand the importance of supporting biblical content to reach more souls for Christ. Together, let us be a part of His Great Commission.